You probably know somebody that has gone through a divorce, right? Or maybe yourself. Today we have Julie Valbuena, a certified life coach and yoga instructor. On this episode of the Mindfull Podcast, we discuss how to manage your mental health while going through a divorce and ways yoga can help you through your healing process. I feel like the first time was organic. Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Mindfull Podcast. Today we have Julie Valbuena. Or Valbuena. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. Working on a beautiful Saturday.
Yep. It never ends. And it is what it is.
Yeah. So for our audience, do you mind introducing yourself? Give us a little background personally and professionally.
Sure. So like you said, my name is Julie. I'm 41 years old, originally from Barranquilla, Colombia. I am a mom of 3. 2 teenagers and 1 soon-to-be. And I am a yoga instructor and a certified life coach. And I like to work with people to show them I feel like the biggest thing I like to do is show people how to think about their thinking, which in itself is called metacognition, where you just kind of take a step back and check out how you're really thinking so that you can step out of the habits and the patterns and the beliefs and have a more intentional thought process, which will usually transfer to a more productive life.
Sounds easy, right?
Not quite.
But it's not, people.
It's not.
How did you get into this field? How did you find this journey?
It's funny, right? I mean, all these stories always have like a lot of context and a lot of depth to it. But yoga, I started because I was exhausted. I had 2 kids under 2 and an ex-husband that was probably not too involved. So I was just exhausted out of my mind. And I remember a friend of mine told me about yoga. And of course I had heard about it. It's not like it was like a new thing, but it was introduced to me as like, I remember she said, it's like getting a massage. And I was like, sign me up.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, I need some sort of relief and me time and to remember who I even was, because you lose yourself so much in motherhood and all the other roles that we play. So I remember joining a local yoga studio and not liking the first class at all, which is funny because I hear a lot of people say, oh, I've tried yoga, but I hated it. And I was like, keep going, keep trying, 'cause I hated it too. And they're so surprised when I say that. So then at the beginning, I didn't like it. It was kind of like an acquired taste. And then I just dove into it like completely. And at first it was for me, the practice, it was such a like a safe haven, a safe space for me to be with myself and understand a lot of the chaos that I was living and just kind of calm down, right? Just kind of like an anxiety relief and management tool. And then I decided, or they were like, you should train as a teacher. And I was like, no.
That's awesome.
Why? Me. And then they convinced me. I'm sure it was part marketing, try to like help the studio's bottom line, but I so appreciated. And then I got into it and I was like, oh, I'll do this for me. Right? That's like a pattern I've noticed in my life. I'll do this for me because I want to learn how to improve my practice. And then after that, I remember the owner at my CrossFit gym, where I still go. He's like, hey, do you want to teach yoga here when you're done, when you get certified? And I was like, sure. I'll do it for free to help out, people with mobility. It's wonderful. And then it slowly started becoming like I would have people every Saturday show up. Then I started doing it twice a week at noon. And then people started asking me to like help them out. I started teaching a little here and there. I went into the studio where I met you. And it just became into a little business, which is kind of cute. It happened organically. Yeah. I was doing it totally as like a love project, a side project, something to like do to feel more than just a mother, because I had quit my job to stay home with my kids, and then I had another one. So it was almost like impossible to head back into the office. And, my ex at the time, he does very well. So he was like, hey, stay home with the kids and I'll take care of the finances and you just be a mom, which was great. But also I kind of started losing a sense of purpose. And I know a lot of you listening know what I mean.
Oh, yes.
So this gave me like a little identity outside of just being a mom and a wife and a housewife. And then I started picking up. So that was where the yoga went, right? And then after I got divorced from said person, I was like,
from previously mentioned.
I was like, I've noticed, I've worked with a lot of divorced people. I've noticed that divorce will just obviously like shake you to the core. And each one of us will turn to a specific, like, kind of like soothing, like a safety blanket. You will turn towards something that'll help you. And no judgment here, just it depends on what you feel like you need in the moment. I noticed a lot of people, or a lot of women. So quick context, when I was getting divorced, it was like 8 of us that were getting divorced.
Oh my God,
we called it divorce season. So
it's probably like, what is it, Venus retrograde?
Something,
or like
a Mercury retrograde that just extended itself. I love that. Oh so yeah, God. It was a lot of, I'm sure at all moments, at any moment, a lot of people are getting divorced, but you were maybe just aware of it a little more, I think, because you're living it. So I noticed that different one of us took different approaches. My approach was, I want to understand why this happened, Other approaches I saw was, I'm free, I'm going to go party, which good for you, go do that, Others were, I'm going to travel. Others were, I'm going to jump into a relationship right away, and whatever it is, we all have our ways and no judgment here. But I was like, I want to understand what happened because this sucks, and there was, I played the victim role for a little bit, but I was like, I just don't think it works that way. It can't be that I'm just kind of like this feather in the wind of life being thrown around. There's something, some role that I'm playing and some patterns that I'm following and some beliefs that I must hold inside. So it was like, I wanted to understand my brain. I wanted to see what was going on. And of course, use it to heal. Like I said, once again, it was like, for me, I'm doing this for me. And then eventually, my friends are like, oh my God. And I did it under Tony Robbins. So he's, very popular.
Yes.
And, my friends were like, oh my God, when you like train, I want to be your first client, or like, can you teach me? Can you show me what's wrong with me? And I was like, sure. So I started, playing around and just kind of using some of the tools on them and on myself a lot. And again, eventually I was like, you know what? I can blend these two things. And I found a lot of parallels between the two, between the coaching space and the yoga space. And I was like, there's a lot of value here that people can use to heal a lot of the stuff that we're carrying around, and a good way of healing, right? Because I feel like there's also these like makeup, like just cover up, put a little concealer on there, a little powder, and it looks good for the moment. Yes. But when you take your makeup off, it's still there, right? And I feel like it builds up the longer you avoid it. So I was like, there's something here. So I hired a business coach and I set up like a program. I was my niche at the time, because my business coach was like, you need a specific niche. And I said, well, what am I good at? Let me tell you, I was freaking out because I had 3 kids under 5 when I decided that I could no longer stay in my relationship. I had not worked in 7 years. And I was a stay-at-home mom. So I was like, what skills do I have? Exactly. I was like, I tell a lot of people are like, wow, you're really brave. And I was like, I just don't think I was thinking, I just felt really uncomfortable. I needed to get out of there.
Yes.
But if a friend of mine comes to me today and says like, hey, I have 3 kids, I haven't worked, and I'm going to get a divorce, I'm like, okay, let's sit down and talk, okay?
What's the strategy plan?
Right.
What's the exit
plan? I just literally
okay.
threw myself to the wolves, and there's a happy ending. I'm happy I've been able to build a business, successfully. It's also very like gratifying to be able to take my knowledge and my pain to help other people, which is, I always feel like that's the purpose of our pain, is that we learn and then we share it with somebody that's going through it. So it's like like that's why we're here on Earth. We just share, right?
Yeah.
And kind of soften the blow, and kind of in the process, while we help somebody, we heal again and again and again. So I find myself with clients still reliving some stuff, and just I can notice the contrast between how it felt back then and how I feel now about it. It's a really beautiful feeling. It's very fulfilling, very satisfying. So I blended the two, and I started working with, because I was like, what do I know how to do? I know how to, figure this out as a divorcee, and I packaged my offer, and I worked with a few of them, and then it started just kind of organically moving more towards the relationship space, because somebody that I would work with would be like, oh, I have somebody who's going through something, but it wasn't perhaps a divorce per se, but maybe
it was just a change.
Right, maybe they were having an affair, or they were having an issue with their child, or with their parent, so it all boils down to relationships, but it started through the divorce only. And I remember a client telling me like, why are you like putting yourself in this box of just divorcees if you can help so many other people. And she was like, I feel like you're past that label. And that was her opinion, but it opened up my eyes. So I was like, maybe I have more space to help other people. And since then, so I don't really put a label on my coaching. It's like that metacognition. I want to help you think about your thinking so that you can be more intentional about the choices that you make. That's what I really want to do. And I've helped people with eating disorders. I've helped people with anxiety issues. I've helped people in the relationship space. But yeah, so that's how it happened. And then I still do my private yoga. So I transitioned into private, mostly because I wanted to be there for my kids. Because
the flexibility of the schedule.
In the yoga world, everybody wants the 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 6 p.m. And those are the times that I'm either taking my kids to school or it's dinner time, you know. So I was like, I need to figure out something that works better. And I'm not going to lie, the pay is way more better. Of course. So it was like a win-win, right? So I get to set my own time and I need to work with clients. And the one-on-one, I really like connecting with people. That's one of like my biggest needs and all these human needs tests that I give people and myself. And I feel like obviously the group setting is wonderful and it's a whole different vibe and you can kind of like, you know, the energy just builds up and it's beautiful. I did that for years, but I really enjoy the one-on-one and the longevity of the connection and the progress that I can see individually. And then it becomes, even in the yoga, when I wear my yoga hat, there's a lot of coaching involved.
Okay.
You know,
I was just gonna ask that. Do you integrate
and it's even like not me saying anything.
You're like, I don't even mean to,
for
but
real.
Here I am.
Yeah, and when they know that I do that separately, because I have most of my clients are a little older, right? That's more like the demographic that has just kind of naturally happened. So some of them aren't even on social media. They don't care. But the ones who are and they notice that, they're like, oh my God, maybe she can help me more, you know? So I'll help you physically. I'll help you relax. I'll help you like lengthen and strengthen. But then it has become almost like a thing where before the class actually starts, it's like the hairdresser, like, let me tell you what's going on.
So what's going on?
Yeah, it's like, let's have this like, you know, me time. Yeah. So what's going on? Or sometimes I don't even have to ask for it. They're just like, oh my God,
they see you and they're like,
what just happened?
Spill it all out.
Right. And then it's a perfect platform for me to introduce some of the coaching tools that I use or help them just like reframe the situation and see how you can, you know, what lesson is there to learn? How are we coping? So it's pretty cool. And it just kind of blends. And in the coaching, of course, I bring in yoga a lot, you know, into the chakras, if your body's showing, you know, if something's really hurting. Yeah.
Oh, you can go so into depth
with
the yoga and the chakras.
It's beautiful.
And spirituality.
Totally.
Yes.
Totally.
I love that.
Yeah. And I kind of like, I customize it to the client because there's some more skeptical ones. They're like, what? Chakra? What is that?
Heart chakra? Yeah. What is that?
Right. So you just gotta have to tailor it to the person. I mean, I like to think that I'm good at reading people quickly at this point. You just kind of see patterns and you kind of see what works and what doesn't. But yeah, like you say, it's like endless possibilities. You can go down this route. You can use this tool. You can explain this concept. And they're very tightly knit, the coaching and the yoga. But I mean, in the end, it's all about, you know, self-development, self-awareness. That is everything. Keyword. Yeah. Exactly. Keyword. Self-awareness is everything, right? So both disciplines do have a big focus on that. And then just intentionality, being present. Once again, learning how to think about your thoughts and learning how to relate to your thoughts. Because in yoga, it's all about listening to the chatter. If you go into meditation, you know, you'll hear that you just kind of sit there and watch stuff without having to have any sort of emotional response or any sort of labeling or any sort of attachment. Just like,
I personally fall asleep on meditation.
I get it.
So I don't.
There's a term for that.
What is it?
Meditation.
Oh my God. I think I've done it a few times and I enjoy it, but it makes me so relaxed that I fall asleep. So then I'm like, maybe meditation is not for me.
Maybe, or I'm here to offer that maybe you can switch a couple things around.
Even with yoga, I remember I would do a class and then at the end, you know, Shavasana.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. Wait. And like, they don't wake you up.
Oh no. I mean, it's almost like
it's embarrassing.
Not
like,
at all.
Wake me up.
Not at all. Well, yoga, I feel is like the least judgmental space in where you can fall asleep.
Well, no, obviously it's me judging myself.
Totally.
But like, you wake up, here I am.
Did you have a
sleeping.
great experience?
No, of course. Every
Obviously.
time. I loved your classes.
Oh, thank you. It's like, you know, compliments to the chef. At least for me, when my student falls asleep in Shavasana, oh my God, I love it. I've heard teachers say that they find it disrespectful or they get annoyed.
Really?
I mean, to each their own. I personally love it.
In the middle, maybe, but like at the end, you just did a long workout, a long stretch. You like connected with yourself. Of course, I want to like sleep. I need to recharge. My body just went through this whole thing.
Totally. So I love it. I love it when my clients, even when they snore, I'm like, yes, you know, like mission accomplished.
Probably me.
You know?
Just like a little snore. Though.
I know, like a little
nap. Wake up, you like everybody's sitting down. Like, and I'm like, oh my God.
They should have like a compilation of people that fall asleep in Shavasana and then when they wake up, because their face is hilarious. They're like, what just happened?
Yes.
Some of them are like, where am I? Because you can go deep. You can go really deep after
it's like deep sleep.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And with the relaxation and the whole thing and the breathing, it's like most conducive to like the best sleep of your life. But then you have to like shut it out and come back to reality. And the faces are... They should have a compilation.
I don't want to see my face, but if anybody's listening, for sure, make a lot of money, we would definitely watch that video.
For sure. I'm gonna look. Maybe it already exists. Who knows?
Maybe. That's our homework.
Back to your meditation thing. A couple of things. Do you do it sitting, like lying on your bed?
I've done it both ways.
I've done it sitting up.
Yes, and then my butt starts to hurt.
Okay.
And then it's just almost like uncomfortable, so I just have to like lay back.
Got it.
Like, I don't know.
And
it's
then
the
you fall
whole thing.
asleep.
Even in yoga, when I would sit down, like crisscross applesauce.
Sukhasana.
At one point, I'm like, oh my God. Like, I would love when we do the adjustments and put the towels or something. I don't know.
The bolsters as well, or the blankets.
I don't know. I can't do that pose for too long.
You're not alone, though. In fact, this morning, my client was telling me that when she does Sukhasana and has her back straight, she starts getting like mid-back like tension. And, and it's like... It kind of like distracts you from the pose.
It does.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting there trying to like, am I going to be the first one to lay down? And then I kind of like open an eye. I was like, oh, there's 2 more laying down. So I was like, okay.
How funny we compare ourselves to yoga, right?
Oh my
Isn't
God.
that
we
funny?
compare ourselves to everything.
All day. Yeah.
Like,
but yoga's supposed to be the safe space, but it never ends.
It is. But like I said, it's not other people judging me. It's me, myself, trying not to look ridiculous because apparently there's a competition, but there's not.
Apparently, right? Yeah.
Anyways.
Which are all self-created constructs.
Yeah, I have a lot of those.
We all do. Oh, we all do.
Yeah.
But that's some of the... I aim to like get in there and like find out what it is.
Yeah.
And let's see if you want to change it. Maybe you want to keep it. That's another thing.
Yeah.
Like, I just like to tell people, make sure that you know what you're doing, why you're doing it.
Yeah,
so if
like
you're
your
gonna
purpose.
Go and do something that is quote unquote not so good for you, but you know that you're gonna, why you're doing it, go ahead and do it, because the effect is totally different.
Yeah,
that makes sense. When you feel, like I say, like helpless in the choices that you're making, and like everything is pulling at you, and you have no real power. That's when the issues really show up. Yeah.
Okay, so going back, you mentioned divorce was the main thing that caused you to get into this wonderful profession.
For sure, yeah.
But back then, how did divorce affect your own mental health?
Oh my gosh, like everywhere. Well, here's the interesting thing. And of course, I'm a big, like, one of the topics I love also is balance. So there's always like opposing things going on at all moments. That's something I teach a lot too. So I decided to end my relationship because I felt that it was best for my mental health. Like, I felt that staying in that relationship was just going to just
destroy
you. But in that process, as you're looking for better mental health, there's also a lot of, mental health suffering going, or you're having a bunch of mental health issues, right?
Yeah.
So you probably leave what you consider as toxicity. And this is something I point out. I remember having this conversation when I first got divorced. A cousin of mine told me, she's like, we get divorced thinking all our problems are going to go away, and we just get a new set of problems, right? Because we feel in our heads, and this is when you don't think about your thinking, this kind of like rudimentary thought process is once they're out, everything is good.
Everything's good.
And you and I know that once they're out, some things are good,
and
some things are really not, right? So it was that the divorce, as far as like, it triggers a lot of old issues, right? It opens up old wounds. And the reason a lot of divorces happen because you haven't addressed a lot of those wounds that need to be addressed in order to have a healthy relationship, right? Which in my case is exactly what happened. So it'll trigger things like abandonment wounds. It'll trigger a lot of insecurity. There is a lot of shame that happens during divorce. It's funny because while you're going through a lot of things, maybe you're not aware, which again is why you need to work on your self-awareness and your understanding your thought process. But I carried a lot of shame over the divorce, just because you feel like you failed. You feel like you're different than everybody else, which is funny because statistics show that about 50% of couples end up in divorce, but you feel like you're the only one.
Yeah.
You feel so alone and you want to isolate. You know, that's kind of like the pattern or yeah, kind of like the way it flows until you kind of come out of that. But shame is a big one. And shame is one of those emotions that are very, very detrimental, right?
Yeah.
So that affects your mental health. So as I was saying, I was having a conversation with somebody and they're like, last week, they're like, I just feel weird in my group of friends because I feel like the failure one. And I was like, you know, so it's that, I'm sure you carry that for around,
it's the identity.
right?
Well, so I think in my experience, it was a little different because I was younger in a younger crowd where nobody was married.
I get it.
So for me, getting divorced was almost like, welcome back to the party. I don't know. Yeah. I was what? I don't even remember anymore. 26,
when
27 when I got divorced.
Oh, wow. So,
and,
super early.
you know, again, I had a 1 or 2 year old with me. But for me, the shame came more of what society tells you.
Totally.
And I had to remind myself that it was okay, you know, and that, I don't know, I guess in my head, I didn't want to stay with someone just because we're married.
To fit in, right?
Yeah,
or to fit in for like society
because it's the right thing to do.
Correct.
And then your family. Yeah. There is that, but it didn't come more from my friends. I think it came just from the social stigma of how you're raised,
that's
right?
a
Like
huge
you're married
one.
once and that's it. And I did the whole church thing too. So that was a big thing. But I did grow up, like my parents were divorced. So for me, I guess I grew up with it. I saw it. So it wasn't completely abnormal.
Got it.
Compared to somebody who was probably raised with their both parents in the same household and then might go through divorce, and for them, you know,
earth
something
shattering.
Exactly. So
that makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense. But yeah, so when you go through this, there's just so much like, you know, self-doubt. Like I said, a lot of childhood wounds are opened up. There's a lot of anxiety. There's like, what am I going to do, right? It's a big change in the status quo. Even if the change is for better, it's still a big change. And human beings don't like that sort of big change.
And people will also ask me,
oh, God.
You know, people, it's almost like somebody died. Oh, my God, I'm so sorry you got divorced. And then I would just be like, I'm happily divorced. And that right there, people would be like, oh, that's a good one. I'm like, yeah, why do you assume that a divorce is bad? Like, you don't know. You don't know if maybe I was in a physical, violent relationship and I needed to get out. Then if I told you my whole story, which is not the case, by the way. But if I told you the whole story, then you would congratulate me, right? For splitting up.
The initial stigma that divorce has. Like, oh, wow, it's a failure. It's like wrong. It's like not the way it should be.
Exactly.
But yeah, so there is a lot of that. So you battle with the depression. I don't know if you went through this period. I feel like every divorce is different, but I do find a lot of clients that would tell me of like, I'm okay, I'm not okay. I'm not okay. I'm okay. It's like an on off. Like you wake up and you're like, okay, I'm good. And then the next morning something reminds you, or it's the first Thanksgiving without your kids and I'm not okay, right? After a while, you just get okay. But it's a process. Like you can't just press a button and get to the future.
No, it's a life change too.
It is. It's a huge life change. Well, science shows that the three things that like have the biggest impact on you are the death of a loved one, divorce, and moving. Yeah. So it's almost like mourning of a loved one as well, you know? So it's like
also,
2 in 1.
It's also harder when you have kids. Everything. The moving,
it's like everything.
You have kids together. So like it's not like a regular ex-boyfriend that you can like,
peace out. Yeah. You can't do that.
No, like you have to arrange weekends and holidays and
so, and watch them go into another relationship and see maybe another person come in and like
you have to be ready that the other person.
Children. There's a lot of stuff. It's a lot. It's not for the faint of heart, but at the same time, it's not. Staying in an unhealthy, like a very unhealthy relationship, is also not for the faint of heart.
I also think it depends if you were the one
Oh, yes.
who wanted a divorce.
Yes, I feel
or you
like,
didn't, or if maybe it was mutual.
Yeah.
Because, you know,
Yeah.
that can happen.
There's a lot of nuances to the divorce, but
Yeah.
for sure, I feel like regardless, even if it's the best thing ever, even if you were in a physically abusive relationship, the shift,
Oh, of course.
everything is difficult,
Yes.
and switching into a new life, letting go of all those dreams and goals and identities that you had, you know, the way you wanted to raise your children. There's a lot, so it takes a huge toll on your mental health, huge one.
Now, how did you cope? I feel like you already kind of mentioned this, but how did you cope during your divorce besides obviously yoga? Was there anything else that helped you?
Yeah.
Did you seek professional help?
I did go see a therapist for a little bit, but nothing against therapists, but I feel like we were just kind of going through the same, like beating a dead horse, just kind of talking about the same thing. And I'm like, but I want to feel better.
Yeah.
Like, so I stopped after a while, and that's okay. And I was like, it's time to take matters into my own hands. That's when I was like, all right, let me figure out personal development. Let me read this book. Let me see what resources are out there that I can use. I'm a very hands-on. Like I sometimes I'd love to have somebody help me, but if I don't feel like you're helping me, I'm gonna help myself. So let's figure this out. So that's what I did. I started like pulling resources here and there. Another thing is having a support group.
Okay.
Imperative. Maybe somebody who's gone through a divorce before, who can serve as a sounding board where you don't feel any shame, where you feel like you're fully understood. Because when you're coming to your married friends to talk about what's going on, they love you to death and they want you to feel better, but they don't know what you're going through. So it's important to reach out to like a group of people who have, or maybe just one, it doesn't have to be a group, but have people there for you and like different people for different things. So you know, if you have like good friends from childhood that are there, and it's beautiful. A thing that I noticed when I got divorced, people that I hadn't talked to in forever, it's like everybody showed up from out of the woodwork. So everybody's just like, I'm here, which is a beautiful thing because you feel so alone, or you can feel so alone and isolated, and like nobody gets it. And there's where the balance kicks in. Then everybody that you hadn't seen in forever shows up, and it's a beautiful thing to feel like so supported and people care, you know, because it can be a dark period for sure. Yeah. But the important thing is to know that there's support out there, and there's so many resources, and all you need is one person to reach out to and have them hold space for you while you're going through this until you're kind of back on your feet. And then all the online thing, you know, I like to be wary of like Tinder. Instagram, you know, like Instagram thoughts and like all these like pop psychologists. Watch out for that. But if you find something that helps and that resonates and that helps you with your thought process, for sure, stay there. Yeah.
I think everyone is different, right? Like you said, even yourself with your clients, you do different recipes here and there.
It's a good way of putting it.
I've heard so many stories of people not liking their therapist or not having a good experience. But people don't realize that they all have different techniques, different specialties. And so it's important to do your research.
For sure.
You know, do you want a brief counseling? Do you want psychotherapy, which sounds like that's what you were doing? Because you kept going deep and you're like, I'm over it. I want a solution.
Like, enough. So, repetition. What is it? Repetition compulsion. Enough of that.
Yeah. So maybe you
How
want
do
more,
I get out of this?
So you want solution focused, or some people are more spiritual, so they want humanistic.
Exactly.
But people don't really know that. We know that because we went to school for it.
Totally. And we can kind of, you know, we understand, we can discern the different modalities. Just because your friend had a good experience with them doesn't mean it's good for you. So do your due diligence. Ask around and you know, talk to them for a little bit. The idea is that you both, because as a therapist or as a coach or whatever, we are well aware that the person is not a good match for us. We'd love to help you, but maybe we're not on the same page. Yes. So here, feel free to move on to somebody else who I know will be more in line with you. So for sure, that's important too.
That makes sense. And there's always this constant battling of like life coaches and therapists.
Oh my gosh, yes.
You know,
it's like I feel like it's like the Pilates and yoga, like coming into.
And you're like, you know what? At the end of the day,
we're here to help.
Exactly, we're all here to help, and it doesn't take from the fact that your mission is to heal people, right? So, I don't know. I don't agree with that whole battling.
Same.
I can agree with. You can't diagnose a person if you're a life coach because you didn't do all the schooling and you didn't do all the thing. Like, that's fine. But I don't think anybody's trying to diagnose either.
Right.
So
just pick whatever works. Like if you find something that's helping you heal and that is turning the mirror on you, that's the important thing, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of therapists that I've seen where it's like, let's stay on the blame game. And yes, this is why they were wrong. And this is where they hurt you. And this is why they were so cruel. And I'm like, that's wonderful. But what about you?
Exactly.
You know? So
it's like, all right, well, I understand him. What about me?
What about you? And I don't even need to understand him. Let's talk about you.
Exactly.
I do this a lot. I mean, I'm like, I can be super sweet on the mat or not, because I do like to do like, you know, tough, like.
Tough love.
Yeah. Tough love is my thing. Tough love is my thing. You're not gonna heal if you get super like babied, right?
Yeah.
Like there's got to be the discomfort and the facing yourself. Well, you know, when you understand that you're not as cool as you think you are, it's a big breakthrough. But you need it. You definitely need that.
You do need it, especially if you don't have somebody else who does that for you. Everybody just babies you.
Right.
Here
Which is
like,
they do it.
Not me.
Exactly. I'm like, yeah, not here. And we're gonna straight shooter.
God.
We're gonna get you to where you need to get, and it's not gonna feel fun, but we're gonna do it. You know?
Of course.
Yeah.
Now, you spoke about balance.
Yeah.
Right. And
that's like my thing.
Your thing. Perfect. How do you think we can truly understand ourselves and find balance?
So the thing about balance, and I have my own coach, and that's a big thing for him too. Balance is not something you find because it's already there. It's just about recognizing it. So maybe it's just the nuance of the word. But you understand that wherever there's excess, there's lack.
Yeah.
Right? In order for something to be good, there has to be the counterpart of bad. So learning to understand that everything is at the same degree present at the same moment helps us calm down. It's one of the tools that I have learned with myself to just kind of like bring down those elevated emotions, both good and bad, right? Because at one thing, it's very easy for human beings when they're down, when they're feeling down, to bring it up. Oh, this happens. Everything happens for a reason. You're going to come out of here stronger. Everybody's like, whoa, you know, let's get you out of the hole. But when you're flying up high, which is also a mental delusion, right?
Yeah.
It's just as bad as the low, except society won't allow you to understand that. Yeah. The fake one, right? The ecstasy, the you know, over dopamine,
you're all the way up there.
Cuckoo one. It's very hard to bring yourself down consciously. So we're very like set to bring ourselves up from the pit, but we don't want to come down from the pedestal. We're like, oh no, I love it here. I don't want to stay here forever, because that's how we all are, right? So learning to consciously understand that that's not real, the same way this isn't real, but the center is real. Yeah. And learning to consciously recognize when you're coming up too much, and that's not going to be good, because where there's too good, there's too bad. And the higher
what are
you go,
lacking? Yes, if you're all the way up there.
Exactly. The higher you go, the higher, the lower you're going to drop.
It's like opposites.
Always.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. Like I could spend 10 days talking about this.
That'll be another episode.
I'd be glad to talk about that. It's
and
such
yin-yang,
a cool, yes.
And all
and
that.
And it's present everywhere, everywhere. And of course in yoga, you know, we do it to find balance with the body for the one single-legged poses and the one-sided thing and all that. So, but it's really about the internal balance.
Yeah.
To help you kind of perceive the world in a better way, or in a realer way, right? Because it's the misperception of when we think that's only good or only bad that we start finding ourselves in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you and the balance.
That's a skill I try to teach my clients. I'm like, when you're up there, make sure you bring yourself down. They're like, but why?
Humble yourself down a little bit.
Literally, that's the word. Yeah. But why? And I'm like, because if you don't do it yourself, life is going to do it for you, and it's not going to be so nice. So just learn to hover around the center. You can go up a little bit, down a little bit, and you will have a much like heart-friendly life.
Just become more self-aware.
More self-aware, and understand that nothing is totally good and nothing is totally bad. So we understand both sides. You can come down in through the center. And this is, listen, I'm preaching, but this is hard for me too, because I am a dopamine seeker by nature, you know, but it's about learning to just be like, nope, bring it down. Okay. This feels amazing, but bring it down. And some of my clients are like, but that's just being super negative. I'm like, no, because this is false, right? Okay. Like, it's just like hormones and neurotransmitters trying to get you up here, and then the drop is going to be a lot more painful than it has to be. So just start to see things more in the center. It's like a good life skill to have.
It's a very enlightened concept. to think about balance at all times.
At all times.
Because you can do it here and there, but to be present in the moment at all times, balance, like you said, that's a skill.
It's a skill, and you have to, it's a habit you have to just kind of like, drive yourself
Practice
into.
makes perfect.
And then you start seeing everything as balance. So when something really bad happens, you start looking for the opposite where it's present. Because as human beings, we're so funny. Like, our emotions lead us to the most chaotic perceptions of things. And we get tied into, oh my God, this is so good, or this is so bad, or we just lose sight of reality, literally, when we're getting into an emotional like roller coaster.
Yeah.
And we forget to see that when something's really bad, the opposite is right there. The really good is right there, but usually not in the face or in the form. Yeah, like you get this
tunnel vision, and you're just not able to see the positive things that are going on.
Literally.
And sometimes the hard moments could be lessons learned, correct? And you can get the best out of it.
I think it's safe to say not sometimes, but every single time. Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing with human beings is we're funny, right? It's like we want to graduate college with ever attending class. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Like, please give me my diploma.
Yes.
And I want straight A's, but I don't want to have to learn. I don't want to have to stay up at night. I don't want to have to, go to class. I don't want to have to turn in these projects that require hours. I just want the diploma.
You're giving me PTSD. The college and the paperwork.
Yeah, right?
And me at 1 o'clock in the morning, just like,
I know.
Oh my God. Being all scientific.
Seriously, when your brain's just fried. But that's what we do when we're young. When the brain's like set for that. You send me to college now, and I don't know.
It'll be different.
Probably.
Oh my God. That's a beautiful concept, and I love the way you explained balance. Again, yin and yang, right? There's the good and the bad.
At the same time, always. Yeah.
You use a multi-pronged approach for treatment, and you kind of went over it a little bit. What is your ultimate goal with your client? How do you apply this approach when you see them?
My ultimate goal with my client is to not have them depend on me, believe it or not. So business-wise, that may not be the smartest choice, you know, but I have, there's always referrals because they have a good experience. In the end, obviously, I want them to have a good experience, but I want them to leave our time together feeling empowered and with a new sense of like, I have this toolbox and I'm ready to face the world. And the way I usually structure my coaching is I'll do 10 sessions with you. So across 10 weeks, right?
Okay.
Like clockwork, around session 8 or 9, they're like, oh my God, what am I going to do without you? Because I've been holding your hand the whole time, right? I'm like, it's time for you to get to the ledge and start flying. Here's the thing, I'll always be around. It's not like I just disappeared and I'll never answer your texts anymore.
Your crisis text.
Seriously, but I need you to implement now. You've been learning, now it's time to implement. So my goal is for you to fly.
Yeah.
And, approach your life with all these new tools and with this, new empowerment that I'm trying to show you. I'm not giving you anything. I'm just showing you what you can do.
Yeah.
And that's what I like. So that's my ultimate goal with my clients, to have them change perceptions and let go of a bunch of bullshit that they're carrying around. We all carry. The analogy I use is you're trying to climb a mountain with a super heavy backpack where you're bringing things that you don't need. So how about we start taking out all the stuff that you don't need and leaving it out there and keep walking up until you carry only the necessary ones, and your ascent is going to be a lot easier, right?
Yeah,
and
that
a lot
makes
more
sense.
joyful in a way. Not euphoric, because that's not what we're looking for.
No.
But like pleasant. You're going to have more gratitude. You're going to have more awareness. You're going to have more self-agency. Another thing I love to teach my clients, like, let go of me and you're the real, like, Tony Robbins says, like, I'm not your guru. Like, everybody's their own guru, and this is what I want to teach you. Like, yeah, there's all these resources out there, but when you understand that this right here, your thought process and your relationship to your own thoughts is the biggest tool you have. That's the best guru out there.
It is.
Start using it. That's my goal.
It's the same for therapists, I think.
Yeah.
Because at one point, therapy has to end. Sorry. I will.
Change this really quick.
I just like choked on my own. I did. I think I was having a funny feeling and I was holding it and held it for too long. Okay, I survived. Okay. As therapists, we have the same the same goal. We definitely want to leave you with the tools that you are able to survive on your own in this big, harsh world. But we're always available as well. Come as needed. But you'll definitely see that the client, when it gets closer to finishing, like they know there's a couple sessions left, they'll start getting that anxiety of like, so what am I going to do without you?
Right.
It's like, well, we've been talking about it for weeks. This is what you're going to do without me.
Right.
You just got to do it. How can we identify and analyze the areas in which healing is necessary? For example, in divorce.
Wonderful question. One of the first things I try to tell my clients is whatever bothers you about somebody else a lot is exactly what you need to heal in yourself.
Projection,
right?
100%.
Thank God for Freud and Jung, and thank God because there is so much, like so many treasures hidden within the things that trigger us about other people, because that's exactly what you have to go in there and heal, right? So that's one. That's it. That's like the easy one. That's like the easy test. Like go around. Okay. Who bothers you? Who can you not stand? Like who makes your blood boil when they walk through the door? Okay, check out, like write down what specifically about them. You know what's funny? A lot of people find this so hard to do. I guess maybe you and I, because we're so into it and we've been doing it.
But it's happened to me where, you know, I get angry or something, and of course my therapy self is like, check yourself. Yep. And then I'm here sitting, checking myself. It's like, no, I just don't like the person.
Period.
Like, that's it. So it's hard. It's true. You don't have to like everybody. But it's what you're saying. Like, when it triggers you, this like feeling.
That visceral reaction.
That's when you have to explore.
Oh, yeah. That's your body telling you there's something here. And the body is one of the wisest, like, compasses we have about what's, like, you know, not like healed within us. So that's a good one. Just go through like very, very specifically about what about them bothers you, right? Like, is it the way they treat other people? But try to like narrow it down to like an adjective, right? And then that is exactly what you need to heal within you. That's like the easy one. Another one is if you notice patterns that especially, well, I kind of tend to focus on relationships, but kind of go through like a timeline of the relationships that you've had and notice what patterns, you know, notice what like, but I always date the cheaters. I always date the ones that don't have time for me. I always date that. And
emotionally unavailable. They always find me. It's like, no, you're finding them.
You're looking for them and more actively than you're aware of, because it's the self-awareness. You're looking for them because but one thing I tell all my people, they're so emotionally unavailable. And I've been with them for 2 years, and I'm like, wait a second. For unavailable to happen, 2 people have to be. I'm like, I'm sorry to bear this news, but you're just as emotionally unavailable. And there's where the, no, not me. I'm like, I love those.
Like, you're literally doing this for 2 years, and you're still doing it.
I always say, for it to work, you guys have to be on the same frequency. So you're just as emotionally available, except you're going the other way, the balancing, you know?
You're going the victim way.
Right. Or the helper way versus the other ones that like, or the avoidant the anxious avoidant dance. All that. It's all balance. It's all balance. But so that's the other one. Look at the history. Look at the patterns. Look at kind of like the statement that you have about every relationship. Oh, he was this. He was this. After a while, you start noticing that it's you. And it's not them, right? Yeah. When it's a one-off occasion, then those kind of don't provide like important data. But when it's the same one, and it's funny because the same things happen like weirdly. Like there's like some creepy coincidences that keep going on. That's where you need to find some healing. Yeah, for sure.
I think it's crazy how you can be saying, I want a boyfriend or I want a relationship, but then you're playing this role in the active relationship where you're literally not emotionally available.
Oh my God, it's wonderful. And that happens so much.
Yes, it happens.
And people call it self-sabotage. Not really, you know, like we all have, I mean, everybody has the same desires, right? Here, from here out, everybody has the same desires. We all want a happy relationship. We all want a healthy body. We all want good finances. We all want purpose. We all want healthy children, that we have good relation. Everybody wants that. Yeah. So why don't we all have it? Right? Because we have a lot of other stuff inside where the desires are even more powerful than the ones that we believe that we want, the ones that we say. And it's usually ones that we're very scared of. So there's a desire to protect. There's a desire to avoid. Then those are even more powerful, but we're not telling everybody. We're not telling like, oh, I want a boyfriend that I only see like, 3 times a year and we have a good time. And then I don't really have to get deep and like share my intimate, like me with them. Nobody says that, or few people. Some people are open about it. And this is what I tell them.
Care.
Hey,
like,
if this is what you want and you're aware of it, go do it. That's what I tell them. But don't blame them for something that you're unconsciously doing, because it's you.
Yeah. That's something you're allowing.
Right.
And
it's
the
something
one
you're
setting
seeking
the standards
too.
and the
You're
boundaries.
Seeking. Totally. So there's
some people are not aware that they're seeking.
A lot of people, they're not. Yeah. That's when I'm like, no, this is all about you. They're like, no, but let me tell you about them. I'm like, I don't even need to know about them, because this is all. I don't care.
Nobody.
Seriously,
just yourself.
This is all about you. Like your world is you. Everybody else is just an avatar of the things that you need to heal. So whatever you have, whoever you have a troubled relationship with, whoever, whatever patterns you keep repeating, those are great hints as of what you have and what you have to heal. And sometimes you just get to a point where you're like, shit, I need to heal, my relationship with my father.
There's no avoiding it.
Yeah, it's just like so clear, because it just hurts so much. Yeah, so that'll be,
that can be powerful too.
Very, whichever way you pick, The interesting thing is, if you avoid it, you continue avoiding it, it's like those alarms that start off low and then they get like louder and louder until you're like, oh my God, okay, I'm up. That's life.
Yeah.
So the stuff that you don't even know that you need to heal will start showing up in your life in different iterations. Oh, for sure.
With different people, different occasions.
You'll be dating the same woman with a different face, and you're like, oh no, this one's totally different. She's from Croatia. This other one was from like, Venezuela. Oh no, she has a different job, totally different. And the relationship ends up being the exact same dynamic. That, my friends, means that the pattern is something that you need to notice. Yeah.
You need to check yourself out and be like, wait, I feel like I've lived this before.
Seriously, right? It's like the deja vu where you're like, oh, not again, but he was so different. No, you just got to heal. No.
You got tricked again.
Yep.
What were some of the healing lessons that you learned after going through your divorce and after going through this healing journey of yours with yoga, breathing, life coaching?
Well, it's about really understanding what role you're playing in things, right? We get to a point where and I've said this before, we stop being like, what's the supporting actor? Okay. Or like an NPC, as my kids call it. I don't know if you've heard that.
Wow.
Have you heard that?
Yeah.
The non-player character where you're just kind of observing your life, but you're not playing any role. So that one was a hard pill to swallow, because I like I said, I played the role of poor me. I why did all of this happen to me? And then you start realizing that there's a lot that you bring to the table, and nothing happens in a vacuum. It's a chain reaction, and it's like physics. Like you push into the wall pushes back at you, and there's no escaping that.
Yes.
So just understanding my role, there was a lot of childhood perceived trauma, to call it that way. A lot of negative beliefs, a lot of limiting beliefs towards men, towards what relationships were, towards the male-female dynamic, towards my own female and male energies within. So I had to learn how I would, what I had seen in my home, and I was trying to recreate that, which we're all doing that until we realize we're doing it, and then we realize that we can pick another path. We can write another story.
Yes.
But so I realized I was following a lot of patterns. I was very unaware of a lot of the things I had deposited in my head, and I was trying to plan out or act out. So yeah, that was it. Yeah. A lot of power struggles, a lot of what a male means to me, what a man means to me, a lot of that, what a mother means to me as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's a very important one. Yeah. And sometimes you don't think about it until you're going through divorce or going through a life change, or you have the aha moment, right?
Right. But the thing is that why would you? If you're having a great time, why would you
if it works, if it works for you, then
amazing.
So be it, right? Because maybe you grew up seeing something that was healthy. Yeah. And your parents didn't fight, and they were coping with all the life changes in an appropriate, healthy way. Yeah. So it's not bad that we become what we see.
Right.
In that case.
Yeah.
Now, when you're in dysfunctional
For the
family,
5 people in the world, that's all that
I know, right? And I feel like there's always something, something going on, right? There's always an event. Somebody dies. Somebody gets divorced. Migration. I mean, we can talk for hours about the life-changing moments that can really make you or break you.
Yeah,
right?
Have an impact on you. And things that you would consider insignificant, right? I like how the word trauma is becoming like a household word now. It's normal. The other day it said something about trauma, and I can't remember who it was, but they're like, trauma? No, it's not trauma. I was like, no. I think we need to reestablish the definition of trauma.
Well,
it's not that you had to go through war and have your house, like, you know, get bombed in front of you. It's anything that your nervous system felt you know, a big reaction to. That's it. It could be your dog barking.
Exactly. We had a whole conversation about trauma with a good friend, Natalia, and we went over the big T's and the little T's.
Exactly.
And how everybody also can cope with it different. Totally. I could have a big T, rape, something like that, and I can cope with it a whole other way than somebody else, right?
Right.
And then you have the little T's, microaggression, or
but
parents screaming at home.
The same stimulus can be, I can take it as a big T and you can take it as a little T. So it's we're all so different, right? So the word trauma has become more normalized, at least to me, right? But I said it with a client and she was like, you're calling that trauma? And I was like, no. Trauma in the sense that your nervous system had a high reactivity to and it kind of stayed in your cell at a cellular level. That's it. We're not saying that it was like
it comes with a stigma.
Oh yeah,
like they don't want to say so I have trauma. Like
we
it just sounds like we all
hopefully
we definitely all have trauma.
All of these things. We all have trauma. All of us. And whoever doesn't have trauma has the most trauma because they're hiding it.
Exactly.
Right?
You're in denial.
Total. That's a big trauma. You just learn trauma response is to act like everything is okay. Yeah. Which is a whole thing in itself.
That's like when you go to an interview and they ask you what's
your worst trait.
The good or the worst. And you're like, no, I have nothing bad. It's like,
great.
Red flag.
That's your bad trait right
like there. You can't be perfect.
Unawareness.
There's something.
Unawareness is one of the worst traits you can carry, especially as an adult. As a kid, I get it, right? But as you evolve, you got to be aware. You got to be aware.
It's on you to do your inner work.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Oh my God. Well, I love this conversation.
Oh my God, me too.
I definitely have to get you back here soon.
Ready when you are.
We can go deeper and deeper and deeper.
For sure. That's what I like to do.
Yeah. Is there any last message you would like to give to our audience in regards to healing journey, yoga, divorce, just overall going through a difficult moment or a change in life?
I feel like something that has helped me a lot of people think that because you're a yoga teacher, you're a life coach, that nothing happens to you, or that you have this like magic carpet and you're like perfect and nothing bothers you and you know how to approach everything. Of course not. And I still have a lot of things, difficult things, challenges happening, and I don't expect them to go away. But one thing that I have learned to shift is when things happen, I immediately go to, how is this serving me? Instead of, oh no, why me? Or what am I going to do? It's asking yourself better questions, right? Like Tony Robbins says that, John DeMartini says that. It's, how is this helping me? Why is this happening? Like my question, the way I have learned to frame it, and I try to teach it to my students or my clients, is if the only option is this is for my improvement, how can I view this?
Okay.
So don't look at it as this is bad, this is hurting me. It's if you only have one option, this is for my good. How can you shift your perception about it? So that's one thing that I like to offer everybody. It really does help like take you out of like the eye of the storm and come out and just observe.
From like an outside perspective.
With like less emotional attachment and reaction to it. And just as usual, as I've said a million times here, learn to know yourself. Just understand yourself. Yeah. And it's okay if you're not perfect. You're not, by the way. Spoiler alert, you're not. Because a lot of people walk around. I used to think I was perfect, you know? Yeah. So you're not, we're not. And just learn how to look at yourself.
Accept yourself.
Acceptance with from a place of compassion and offering yourself grace. Like life is amazing, but it's also really challenging. And you're doing the best you can. And as much, self-help and data is out there, we're all just winging it. I'm sorry, but we're
all just living.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to pay rent.
Yeah.
It's really high now.
That's another subject we could talk.
Yeah.
So yeah, just learn how to like analyze yourself, understand yourself, and then eventually befriend yourself. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the 2 things I can offer.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Said it better than I would have.
Thank you.
Oh my God. Well, thank you again.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Michelle. This was great.
Yes. Thank you guys for tuning in as usual. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment, please. I'll see you guys next week.